Okay, great, got it. All right, good. So Bartlett is not here, so I will chair the meeting until he does arrive. This is the Affordable Housing Trust meeting for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Our agenda tonight is we're going to talk about the EHS, housing assistance programs, the LRAP, rental voucher program, new applications and programs, ERAP, emergency program status, and emergency mortgage assistance program, and then the EHS housing needs update. Then we're going to have board member input and updates. We're going to talk about the Durkee Farmhouse, the Hadawon Road parcel, and 550 King Street, the IBM property. And then we will have minutes of prior meetings, which was the March 22nd, 2022 meeting. So I don't know that we have any update on LRAP, ERAP, or any of those programs for this meeting. I don't recall seeing any of that information forwarded. Did anybody else see that?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll just skip over that. And then the EHS housing need update. I don't have any information about that. Did anybody get anything new on that? Okay.
No. Unfortunately, Myron's on vacation, so I'm sure
Right.
we went to her.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so moving right along.
It's going to be a quick meeting.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about the Durkee Farmhouse. So I did not follow up with the engineering on that. But Mark, I did want to ask you as planning board chair, has that farmhouse been turned over to the select board yet? Do you know when that's
No,
going to happen?
we haven't. It hasn't been turned over to the town yet.
Okay.
The developer is still using it as a staging area for those last 7 houses he's got going up there.
Oh, he is? Okay.
That's where, Dave. So, do we want to try to get a date out of him that we can actually think about taking possession of it?
Yeah, I think that would be helpful only because I think what I was going to propose to the group is maybe just looking into issuing an RFP to see if anybody, once we do take possession of it, and just putting it out there to see who we get that might want to come in and see what ideas they may have to do with that property, similar to what we did to the Robinson Roadhouse, although, for housing purposes, clearly, but I was going to see what the group thought about that idea.
I try to find a nonprofit builder or something like that who might do something low income.
I think that's a great idea because it obviously, unless we want to tackle it ourselves, we need somebody professional to take it over and see what they can get out of it.
Right. I think that's the best way to approach it and just let them come to us instead of us doing all the legwork.
I'll follow up with Maren when she gets back to find out, to reach out to David Guthrie to see when he wants to turn it over to us.
Okay.
Is there anything?
I'll follow up with that.
Is there anything left on that development that we might want to wait on? Like make sure he finishes before he hands it over and
I think all he's using it for is a staging ground for the last 7 houses he's built.
But there's no
Everything
more.
else is
There's no more
much
water, sewer issues, road issues, anything like that.
He's in the middle of putting I believe the septic in, right? He's got the design. I don't
Right.
think
He cleared it with conservation.
Yeah. I think that's the last piece that he owes us until he turns it over to us.
The septic for the farmhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he got the approvals on that from Conscom, so.
Yeah, when Maren gets back, I'll follow up on that one.
Okay, perfect, Mark, thanks. To Hadawon Road parcel, I believe last meeting Maren had said that she had contacted or some engineers possibly. Matthew, do you have any more info on that?
So I don't believe so. In fact, I think I was supposed to reach out to either Chris Stoddard and or Steve at this point, but I failed to do that. So I will put that on my list to do this month.
Okay.
But so she got all the information that she had from the engineers to date for the Brown property transfer and so forth. And there wasn't anything concrete there as far as perk or useful information to let us know whether that parcel would be a viable building lot or not. We really need to just go in there and test it.
Right. Okay.
But I'll make sure I get that done next.
Okay.
In a busy month.
550 King Street IBM property. Do you want to take this, Mark?
I want to ask, yeah, I don't mind taking it. We met with Mr. Lapoli. He started the master plan process with us. He showed us a layout of the buildings out front, the workforce housing up to the back, the potential of knocking the two buildings down to put robotics or some sort of high upper science project companies up there. And we talked very briefly about the possibility of moving the town offices to his project and the Shattuck Street, the potential of Shattuck Street being repositioned or repurposed to deeply discounted senior housing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very much in favor of that. As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you, Cindy, at your select board meeting, it was he hadn't really gotten any details over to the select board. I'm wondering if you guys have pushed the ball a little further on that, if he has in fact done that. And my hope is that he can come to your board with some more concrete, a letter of intent or something more concrete for your meeting, so that by the time we meet with him on the 5th, that we can start moving that along to come to some sort of hopefully agreement on that for putting senior housing in Shattuck Street.
Shattuck Street.
Everybody
Right.
agrees to do that.
Right. So the select board had one discussion about it. And there was some specific information that we wanted from Mr. Lapoli. And we had given Anthony and town council instructions to meet with his team to get us that information. It's my understanding, I talked to Mr. Lapoli last week. He indicated that that meeting had taken place, and that they were pulling together all the information that the select board had asked for. And it's my understanding that he's planning to come to our meeting on the 25th of this month with that information.
Good, that'll be good.
Yeah, because we did talk about it at our last meeting, and Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, but just stated that, you know, we need to make a final decision about this one way or another. So I hope that he's, you know, going to have all that information that we were looking for so that we can make an informed decision. So hopefully on the 25th, Mark, we'll have some more.
Do you know if his lawyers and town council have discussed this? You know, if they're at least that
It's my understanding that the meeting was with Anthony, Tom Harrington and his team. And I think his team did consist of a lawyer, just because of procurement laws and those unanswered questions, which were part of the questions that we had as a board, to see how that would work.
I guess just to recap, because there's a few people here that maybe aren't totally up to speed of what we're talking about. During the process of Mr. Lapoli coming to the town homes, and he spoke about doing not only the workforce housing that we talked about, and some senior housing and age-in-place senior housing, but we also talked about deeply discounted senior housing in the 30 to 40% AMI range. And he expressed an interest to work at an arrangement out with the town that he would build workforce housing in the current town hall if, in fact, he would reposition build a building for the town hall to move over to his project, and he would take and reposition Shattuck Street to deeply discounted senior housing. And that's what we're talking about right now, whether both sides have come to some sort of understanding if in fact that can work, how it's going to work, before he comes back to the select board and the planning board with a roadmap of how to get this to work. So that's kind of where we're at, kind of sort of in limbo. Is that
right?
Correct
A
assessment?
high-level overview.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I did mention to Mr. Lapoli that there are other departments located in the Shattuck Street building that need to be taken into consideration. You know, EHS is going to be, you know, moving to that beautiful new building, pending town meeting approval. And then the other department that we really need to address the needs of is the Park and Recreation Department. And that's something that I need to talk to the board about, because we had, at one point, we're looking at other properties in town for that department, and I don't want to lose sight of that. But I just did mention that to Mr. Lapoli, just because he wasn't really aware that aside from the town departments, that there are other departments in that space that we're going to have to address as well. So we'll see what he comes up with on the 25th. Looking forward to having that
Yeah,
discussion.
that'd be nice.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's board member updates right now. Does anyone have anything to share aside from what we already talked about?
No, we're really just engrossed in trying to get 550 King Street going, and obviously the senior projects that go with it,
Right.
and the affordable, not just seniors, but affordable stuff too.
Right. The workforce housing
Yep.
is very important. All right, good. I know there's a bunch of guests here this evening, and I appreciate people taking the time to pop in. So I'm just going to ask if anyone has anything that they'd like to share with the board. If you do, just raise your hand.
The point I'm making is the world is.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
So the reason.
Hello, everyone. Anna Houston, Planning Board, and I wanted to just mention that the new HUD data providing 2021 AMI housing information was recently released, and so I've asked Maren to please make sure that that gets distributed to interested parties, and I think that might be helpful information as well for the Affordable Housing Trust.
Excellent. Thanks for doing that,
Thank
Anna.
you.
That helped. Oh, Bartlett's here. Where's he? Hey, Mr. MacGyver raised his hand.
Sure. Just a quick comment for the Sustainability Committee. Yeah, we were asked to endorse the work of 550 King Street. We'd like to be kept in the loop. And we had some ideas as well. So I think we forwarded a page or two of those ideas. So yeah, don't forget about us. We were pushing for sustainability. I gather there's an idea there will be an assistant on board from Maren who will be addressing sustainability. So yeah, we just like to be in the loop. Thank you much.
Thank you.
I believe
Hi,
Angus
Barbara.
had something to ask.
Angus did?
Yeah. I just asked him to unmute again. I don't know.
Oh, thanks, Judy. Angus, do you have something to add?
I think this might go under board member inputs. I believe 2 meetings ago, I reported to the board that I had made contact with a professor at the Southern Texas State who specializes in elderly affordable housing and design. And I reached out to him to see if he could assist us with the design of the 500,000 square foot building that we're trying to convert over there in Littleton. And he has indicated an interest. I just want to get the board's support in requesting him more. Actually, it's a business partnership. Well, not specifically a business. The Professor Johnson is a professor at the university, and Dr. Roxanne Johnson, his wife, who's also a gerontologist, specializes in building design for the elderly. And in order to allow our Littleton elderly to age in place, it is, I believe, desirable to have this type of building redesign options incorporated in those units that are going to be put in there. So I wonder if the board would be interested in inviting these specialists to speak to the board about designing for the elderly, and also see if there would be a space should this redesign go ahead, would they be able to partner with the developer to incorporate modern design for the elderly into that property.
Thank you for doing that, Angus. Are you talking about the design of the Shattuck Street building, if that proceeds to become housing? Or are you talking about buildings at 550 King Street?
I'm talking about the IT building, the building that the the IT company left, the IBM building.
Oh, the IBM building?
Right.
That's something that we'd have to talk to Mr. Lapoli about, because I know he's got his own design team already on board. So we would have to mention that to him to see if that would be something he'd be interested in.
Right. Okay, that
Yeah.
concludes my report.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. So we'll definitely can raise that with him and see how he wants to proceed with that. But thank you for doing that. John has his hand up again, or Mr. MacGyver? Did he not put it down?
I think he did.
Actually, I didn't put it down, but since you bring it up, one of the thoughts we had was that, with the new state law, doing the rezoning to accommodate development by transportation and all, with huge numbers of units, which communities all over are concerned about. One of the things we suggested is at 550 King Street, you have electric vehicle transport to the commuter rail station. That might give you some flexibility. Of course, you would want development towards the center of the town, but it is important having connectivity to the commuter rail site. So anyway, I just throw it in and I'll take my hand down.
No, I appreciate that. So we actually do already have transportation from the IBM site to the commuter rail station. It's interesting though, because a lot of people don't take advantage of it. But we've had that actually in place for a few years now.
But you're likely to have more of a concern with the redevelopment, with the innovation.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're going to have to look about how to expand that. Absolutely.
And just another side, we're also have it the other way. We're also going to have parking at Mr. Napoli's to take the shuttle and go to the train that way as well, so that if there's an overabundance of not enough parking down at the train station, and that's, Maren can probably speak better to it than I can. That's part of the reason we're trying to get the IBM site to also be part of the commuter rail. As I don't know if you all know that the governor has mandated that we need to get some housing for the rail station. So we're trying to use a bit of the IBM and a bit that we're going to propose down there to try to satisfy the governor's office. And part of it's going to definitely involve a dedicated shuttle service from the center of town to the rail station, both ways.
Right.
Which is very good. I mean, the rail station is there almost by default. No one could find a place for it. So the temporary rail station became the permanent rail station. But yeah, you can make it flexible by having electric shuttles to it. And you don't necessarily have to build parking garages there and all the other ideas that have been kicked around.
Right.
And
I think that's
all the traffic on Foster Street and other places which cannot handle it terribly well or cannot handle much more.
right. And I think that's one of the things too, Mark, I realize that people don't understand is that the mandate that's from the state is that you can have different zones.
Right.
That 750 can be split between different areas in town.
It doesn't have to all be right there.
Right.
That's what we're working at.
Right.
So.
Okay. Hey, Bartlett.
Well, apologize for being late.
That's okay. So we kind of went through everything. We didn't have an update from EHS just because Maureen's not here. So we didn't have any updates about any of the programs in item 1 on the proposed agenda. We talked about the Durkee Farmhouse. Mark's gonna talk to the planning board, talk to Mr. Guthrie, and kind of try to get a date certain on when we can expect that property to be turned over to the town, to the select board.
Great.
And we talked about maybe just issuing an RFP when we do get control of that property. Just to see what kind of ideas we get, similar to what we did with the Robinson Roadhouse. As opposed to us doing all the legwork, let's just put it out there to, nonprofits and see what ideas they come back with, I think would be useful. And Matthew's going to follow up on Tadawon Road. And we did talk about 550 King Street. So I don't know if you want us to recap that for you or not. I told Mark that the select board had asked Anthony and town council to meet with Mr. Lepoli's team, just because we had specific information about the possibility of relocating town hall to 550 King Street. And that information is supposed to be coming back to us at our meeting on the 25th of this month, so that we can make an informed decision about whether or not we're going to relocate town hall and try to use Shattuck Street for housing purposes.
A lot of similar buildings to Shattuck Street have been used for housing, so it does work.
I know
A lot
my
of
parents,
schools.
my grandparents used to live in the Brooks School in Weston.
Yeah,
It's very, very similar to Shattuck Street. It was wonderful. It's still there. Wonderful housing. So I definitely agree with you on that. And that's it. And then I know we had some guests here this evening, so I called on anybody that wanted to talk to the group to raise their hand. So I think that's it. Do you have anything else you want to add, Bartlett?
well, the only thing that I was thinking about was that in the Lupoli Company's presentations about 550 King Street, they have mentioned that they want to do a variety of affordable housing, elderly and disabled and at various positions on the economic spectrum, down to 30 or 50% of AMI. But then they usually throw in a kicker that they wanted. I mean, I've gotten the impression that they want to do the low income housing off-site somewhere else in town. And I think that we as a group ought to have an opinion about that and tell them what it is and whether we approve of having the low income housing off-site or we want to have it there in what's going to be a pretty upscale development.
Right.
It's just a thought that
Well, I don't think we're calling it low income, we're calling it affordable. And the goal is to try to make it affordable for Littleton residents.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're trying to use Shattuck Street is because in order to get deeply discounted, the town has to give something up to, he's not going to build AMIs at 30 or 40% if he has to build them from scratch. That's been the whole contention, that he wants to repurpose Shattuck Street and make it affordable for senior residents. Low income is not, we're not doing a 40B here. We're doing a very nice units affordable to Littleton residents. The thought was that by giving him the building, that would give us the ability to get, and the sewer that goes with it, to get affordable there. So he's still going to do senior housing, age-in-place housing on his property.
right.
But the deeply discounted affordable has always been talked about as a trade for taking Shattuck Street, making that affordable, and the town offices moving to the common. So it's not a 40B we're talking about.
Well, okay, those are conversations that I've not been part of. So I just wanted to say it, but thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Bartlett. And the other thing too, as far as looking at Shattuck Street for housing purposes, the location makes sense just because Pine Tree Park's right there, the library's right there, the senior center's right there. And it makes sense. And the thing with Shattuck Street too is the building needs a lot of work. It's fallen apart. And so it's going to need to be addressed sooner rather than later. And I know that this kind of just came about, out of a whim, but it was before Mr. Lepoli had bought IBM, had bought that location, that, prior to that, we didn't have anyone to really have these conversations with, and now we do.
Right.
So I'm glad that we're having these conversations. But yeah, it just makes sense. And we've identified the housing need for that AMI, for that deeply affordable senior housing. we have that information through the work that we've done through this group. So it's just a matter of seeing, if the select board's gonna be in favor of moving town hall. That's really the first step in this whole process. So hopefully we'll have a formal discussion about that on the 25th, and we'll be able to make that decision. I see someone with their hand raised.
Marge.
Oh, Marge did too. Sorry, Marge.
Sorry
Go
about
ahead.
that. I forgot I muted myself. My
That's
phone
all right.
rang. So I just wanted to throw in too, it's been a long, for people that don't know the history of everything that's been done in this town about affordable housing for seniors. How many years ago did we have the space needs study, Cindy?
No.
That the select board put together, and it's just amazing to me. And that's when we looked at Shattuck Street as far as, was it something that was, financially sound
Right.
to renovate, and it isn't, in order to get it up to ADA standards and everything that would have to be done. But if it can be done with Mr. Lapoli, it's an interesting concept to me, because it would make a great community, I think, on Shattuck Street, and it's a great place for seniors because it's safe.
Mhm.
Shattuck Street, and I know the residents are upset about the possibility of the senior center going in there, and there's no, traffic isn't going to be increased because the senior center is already there on Shattuck Street anyway.
Right,
A little bit of
right.
space we have, but it just seems as though it's a great idea to consider, that whole concept. I don't know either, it's early stages, but it's an interesting concept.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Sure.
worth having the discussion.
You're right.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marge, for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, all it says on the screen is, I'm sorry, I don't know your first
Sorry,
name.
that's okay. Last name is Zubla, first name is Danielle. Here's what I was wondering. So I'm a CEO of a nonprofit in Boston. And although I come out of the world of child welfare, currently the agency I run is a housing agency, and we build deeply affordable housing. So I have a sense of this process that we're talking about, and I'm fully in support, right? We need different housing at all socioeconomic levels. What I've seen in my last 5 years is that when we start these projects and we go to affordability, first of all, we have to talk about the lottery system, because towns can assume that we will get the residents in the town, but the legality around the lottery system can prohibit that, right? As we know. And the cost of developing is kind of what I'd call a squishy budget, right? You start with a budget, and over time, costs increase and change. And what does that mean? Like how are we as the town just preparing for that with any potential developers? Having lived through the process now, I'm watching it on the budgets of our developments. And so just want to make sure, I always offer, if I can be helpful living through it in the pain of what it looks like in Boston, I'm happy to do that. We were asked to consider a project here in Littleton, but I couldn't support it given where my agency is. So as a town resident, if I can be helpful, those are questions I would pose, and I would offer, I'm happy to help look at anything that might be useful.
Okay, that's excellent, Danielle.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. The question I have is, what is the number of housing in terms of seniors being affordable? And I know that we talked about what they probably can get out to Shattuck Street there, but what is the number that you're giving to Sal to say this is what the town would like to get out of this project, specific for seniors?
Do you mean
We
deep
have a number
affordable,
that
Mr.
we're giving
Sanders?
him?
We do, depending on the level of affordability you're talking about. You're talking about like 30 to 40% AMI? Like Pine Tree Park, people that can afford to live at Pine Tree Park? Like that?
The affordable and the affordable housing that people can afford, as they're looking at, if you switch over to, as Mark told me about what they was looking to try to get, what is deeply discounted housing there. I'm just wondering, does the town have a number that it is given to Sal to say that this is what we need. Not talking about the rest, but this is what we would need and like to get for the seniors.
Mhm. It's between 30 and 40 units.
That's sort of kind of low, ain't it?
Well, that's the deeply affordable that we're
deep
talking about at
affordable.
Shattuck Street. There's a couple of different pieces of this puzzle. So by right, he has to give us 10% affordable. That's not necessarily seniors, that's across the board. That's our bylaw. So he has 10%. So if he's at 650 units, he's got to give us 65.
Got
On
that.
top of that, he's offered 40 deeply discounted affordable units at the Shattuck Street property. And he's offered also to build age-in-place senior housing. He's talked about it. We have nothing that's in stone yet about senior housing above for our form-based coding to put housing up above the shops and retail of the front of the building. He wants to look at the option of putting senior age-in-place housing there as well. So we don't have a firm number because we don't know exactly where we're going with the senior center or with the town offices. And that's why the sooner we can get a direction of where we're going, we can try to put firm numbers. But the only number that we're really talking about is the 40 units, 30 to 40, whatever the Shattuck Street will fit in deeply affordable for hopefully for the seniors of Littleton.
Well,
Does that answer your question, George?
yeah, I think you answered it with the best of what you have available to you
Right now.
with the town hall saying going up on the other end there. I mean, I guess this is something for the selectmen to probably kick around, is that the space that we're talking about for the town itself, and we have the school department in there, and you got park and recs in there. I think that we have to be careful as we're talking about going and getting another building or something to put park and recs in there, because we got Shaker Lane is in the background to be torn down, rebuilt, or whatever the case is. So we got another school that's out here that we're going to be looking at pretty soon. And I think with the monies that the town, you can only keep so much on the levy. And I just think that if we go out looking at some for park and rec, which I never agreed to the fact the way park and rec was operated as an enterprise, because they were not an enterprise. To be an enterprise, you have to be self-sustained. And if you got excess money in it, whatever the enterprise is providing, they have to do one or two things: improve on capital improvement, or they have to reduce the rate for whatever service that they're charging with the enterprise. And we just built park and recs out last year. I think it was $250,000 or $260,000 of money there that shouldn't have been the case, but we had to do it because of the situation there. So this park and recs, which I said before about it, they was expanding, and yet instead they was using the school property to do all this expansion that they was doing. But when they wasn't cooperating with the school, then we had all these activities that they had, and then they said, well, we need to build a building, we need to do this, need to do that. I think the town needs to look at that with that park and rec, because, you know, we have a school system here to train and teach the students in the town of Littleton. And it seemed though that park and rec was sort of kind of getting in a little deep into what they wanted to do was to teach. So I think we need to look at that a little careful there, because asking for money to come in here, you can only do so much on the levy. Now, once this 550 get up,
Ready in there, Sue? Okay.
if this 550 get up and get off and going right, and we start getting some taxes in, then yeah, I think the town may be able to do something a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Okay, does anyone else have anything they wanted to share with the group? Okay, so I think the next thing on the agenda was approving our meeting minutes. From March 22nd, 2022. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
Mhm.
They're
Okay,
fine.
They're
I'm-
fine.
I'm good.
okay.
Good.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the March 22nd meetings as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, Susan?
Yes.
Mark Montanari,
Aye.
Matthew Nordhaus,
Yes.
Bartlett Harvey,
Bartlett Harvey, yes.
Angus Michaels,
No,
Muted.
he's driving.
he's driving, and Cindy Napoli is yes. Bartlett, did I call on you?
Yeah, you did.
All
I'll
right,
vote
thank
twice,
you.
though.
All right, perfect. All right, great. So the meeting minutes of March 22nd are approved as written. Our next meeting is going to be on April 19th.
No.
No,
May,
that's
May.
May 19th. Thank you. Wait, is that May? I don't know
Yeah.
if that 19th is correct. Hold on.
Yep.
It is. Oh, it'll be the 17th.
That's a Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be May 17th at 6:30 PM. So that is all. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody who
Thank you.
came
Thank you, Cindy.
and participated.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
It's
Good
great
night.
seeing people. It's great seeing everyone's faces. Thank you for attending.